Well, joining me now is former Conservative Minister Anne Widdecombe and historian Dr Tessa Dunlop, also with us Royal Editor of the Sunday Times, Roya Nicker, and former BBC Royal Editor Jennie Bond. So a veritable galaxy of luminaries to debate this. Let me start with you, Roya, again, because you had a big story on Sunday in which your sources at the Palace were basically indicating that notwithstanding the onslaught that's come their way, King Charles in particular was prepared to consider reconciliation before the coronation in May. Now, I've got to say, before I get you to talk about that, my own sources tonight, who I would describe as pretty impeccable, believe that's a bit of a reach, say that Charles is absolutely livid, and actually reconciliation right now is most definitely not on the cards. There's been no contact whatsoever with anyone in Montecito, and that may well stay the same. So let's thrash out our sources here. How confident are you that you think that Charles really does want to reconcile with somebody who's really shown that any attempt to do anything just immediately gets commercialised?
Well, good evening, Piers. I think, sources aside, if you speak to people who really know the King, they will tell you that he absolutely does not want to be estranged from his son for the rest of his life. There is no doubt that Charles is livid. The whole royal family are pretty livid about what Harry has done. But we have a few months now, very, very crucial months, leading up to the coronation. And actually, one of the most extraordinary lines in that book was Harry's revelation that Charles said to him and William after Philip's funeral, "Please, boys, don't make the rest of my life a misery," which at the moment Harry is doing a very good job of. But what Charles will not want, really won't want, is estrangement from his son forever and any kind of major overshadowing of the coronation. And if there is nothing done, no contact at all between now and the coronation, I really do think we're going to keep hearing from Harry and Meghan in a very negative way. And Charles will want to avoid that.
But you know what my response would be? It's like, all right, keep yapping if you want to. You've done your worst. Honestly, keep yapping and just completely ignore them. Don't invite them to any royal events. I mean, Jennie Bond, why the hell should they be invited to a coronation? It's the people's coronation. It's our coronation for our monarch. All they've done, these two, is damage the monarchy, damage the reputation of that institution, damage their family, the royal family, on which the monarchy's future depends. What on earth have they done to deserve an invitation to a coronation? Where it's not just Charles, by the way. It's Camilla as well getting crowned, who Harry just trashed in his book.
Yeah. Well, I think, this is the most important day probably in the whole of Charles's life. And if, as the loving father, which I believe him to be, he wants his younger son to be there, then I think that is his right and his privilege. And I think an invitation will be extended to them. I think to not invite them really is going to be feeding the hand that bites Charles. So it'd be wise to invite them. And if they do come, I think we, the media, actually should take it upon ourselves not to make it overshadow the coronation. I mean, we don't want to have screaming headlines about them. So I think we should just have a footnote at the bottom of our coverage of the coronation and say also in attendance were the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I think that might be one approach.
I'd like a footnote to drag them out if that eventuality.